is a lesson in psychology 201, 501, 901, I don't know, very high level anyway. The fathers talk about the royal road, the middle path. And this comes from, it says Deuteronomy, in fact it isn't in Deuteronomy, it's actually in Numbers, Chisley, is that Chisley? Well, yeah. And that this is very important, we have to go along this path. This is the path we follow as we go towards the kingdom of heaven. So we leave our own city, in other words, in whatever state we're in, I don't mean physical city, and we go along a path, a road, to the heavenly city, which is heaven.
Святые отцы говорили о царской дороге, о дороге, о пути, узком пути, который ведет из нашего города, в котором мы живем. И под городом имеется в виду наше состояние, наша душа. В Царствие Небесное.
And along that road we come to various milestones, pointers, and these are the virtues that we acquire as we journey along this path, which is our life on earth.
И на этой дороге есть вехи, которые символизируют добродетели, которые мы приобретаем на этом пути.
The problem is that as we journey along this spiritual path, we tend to wander either to the right of the path or to the left. Going to the right is excess, overdoing things, and of course the left is not doing enough, it's less. And so we have to stay in the middle, but our life is always a mixture. We sometimes stray. I would say we stray more to the right when we're serious about our faith. The less is really to do with not really caring and making any effort. But when we make an effort, there's a danger of straying to the right, which is excess.
И проблема в том, что мы все время отклоняемся от этого пути. Мы отклоняемся либо вправо, либо влево. Вправо мы отклоняемся в тех случаях, когда мы делаем слишком много. А влево мы отклоняемся, когда мы не делаем достаточно.
So we have to understand that what we think is a virtue sometimes is actually not a virtue. It's evil, but we don't see it. I'll give an example of Abba Dorotheus. This is where it comes from, this book, which I recommend. Courage. Courage is in the middle of the path. Courage, but to the left is cowardice. Trus. Yeah? So what's on the right? What do you think?
Right.
No?
Try to be more courage.
No, it's more like a,
Recklessness.
bravery.
Yeah, right. Yes, foolhardiness. Yeah, okay.
Но очень часто то, что нам кажется добродетелями, на самом деле грех. Например, вот эта книга, которую батюшка всем рекомендует, это книга Аббата Дорофея. И в этой книге написано о том, что, например, если в середине этого пути мужество, то слева будет трусость, а справа будет глупое бестолковое геройство.
But how many times we stray into the foolhardiness because we think what we're doing is good for God, for the church. And so we have to be very, we have to be sober, that's obvious, but we have to be discerning, that's the word I want. That what we're doing is actually, we have this expression, zeal, not according to knowledge. In other words, examples being super correct because it says that you've read somewhere that you have to do this and therefore you have to do it. And not really understanding that this can be, for you, personally, an excess.
Давайте вспомним, как часто мы вдавались вот в такое бестолковое геройство, когда нам казалось, что мы делаем то, что правильно с точки зрения православия, то, что угодно Богу.
Humility is in the center of the road. What is the left of humility?
Pride.
No, it's on the right.
when you don't have it, it's on the left, so it's pride. When you have too
Well,
much.
pride is in everything, so you can't count pride. It's always there.
Oh.
Everything we do is tainted with it.
Infatuation there.
Hmm?
Infatuation, or
I don't know. Haberdora says arrogance
That's on the left.
on the left. What's on the right? What's on the right of humility? Have you ever thought that there is the right side of the road? I don't think so.
Everything is my fault.
Guilt.
Everything's my fault.
Well, I've got the word here, which I looked up in Russian for you. On the right is obsequiousness, which in Romanian,
thank you very much.
servil, servil,
Servil. Servil.
servil,
Servil. Thank you.
servile in English.
Humbly speaking.
Okay, if you read David Copperfield, Charles Dickens, you remember Uriah Heep. Do you remember that character? Yes, well, I would call it Uriah Heepism. He said, "I'm very humble, sir." But of course, he was doing it in order to get power. So the opposite humility is this sort of being servile. It's not a virtue. It's wrong. And the other side, of course, is arrogance. Now we can recognize arrogance, but can we recognize the other side in ourselves? I'm talking about.
Okay, so what is the Russian word for that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, what I found, because lots of us, раболепство.
Oh, Romanesco.
Does that make
It's a
sense?
good, yeah, it's a good word.
Rabali.
Yeah.
Do you know that one?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, it's
When
a good one.
Father said, yeah, sometimes I understand.
Смирение. Если смирение это середина дороги, то слева будет высокомерие, а справа будет раболепие.
This is like a quiz, isn't it? Having a quiz show. Another one here. Isn't it? Modesty.
Переводить, чтобы...
Скромность.
Scroll. Yeah. What's the left of modesty?
Что
I think this is more difficult, this one. personally.
слева от... слева будет... справа будет стеснительность. No?
Baldness.
Слева будет boldness, а справа будет...
No, sparava, baldness.
Boldness, справа.
Modesty
Brazen.
is brazen. Yes, brazen. A better word, actually. What's on the left of modesty? Brazen being... Gregory, expound on that.
Pardon?
Expound on that.
Brazenness?
Yeah.
Brazenness. Actually, it comes to me as thinking of you're fairly flamboyant. You're excessively expressive
Yeah, full of yourself.
and full of yourself and
Insensitive.
insensitive, slightly daring, reckless.
Yeah.
From an earlier thing. It was a brazen act of impiety, you could say. So, you're actually trying to force an issue. It's not inadvertent. It's a very deliberate.
So do we possess the virtue of modesty, or is what we think is modesty is actually boldness, brazenness, and on the left of that is what? This is I think it's more difficult to see in oneself.
False modesty.
We could say false modesty, but no, it's not. I think you'll be surprised what Abba-Dorothea says. Any idea? This is for 10. Status for 10. University challenge. Yeah. Tanya.
Wearing a bikini, having your head covered.
Наглость, бессовестность слева.
I don't.
Наглость, obnoxiousness.
Wearing a bikini but having your head covered.
Yeah. No, it's actually it's bashfulness.
But I would say that, yeah, I thought it should be on the right side, right? When I'm...
Is that the same? Brazenness, bashfulness.
No.
Yeah, so So on the right it's supposed to be
Lack of
no.
to
On the right it's
overdoing.
supposed to be too much, right?
Exhibitionism.
Yeah,
I would say
excess.
exhibitionism.
Yeah.
You come into the room and you make sure everybody sees you, and you're.
Yeah.
I mean, these are not necessarily wrong, but it's not modesty. And if that's a virtue, then we should be trying to be modest. I mean, don't ask me how, because it's, you know, it depends on your character, doesn't it? If you're a quiet character, then you're not going to be brazen. But you could be bashful, and that is to the left. That's not the virtue. Shy, although that has different levels. I mean, I'd say that one to me is most difficult to understand. Danielle?
Like self-deprecation a little bit, like bashfulness towards that.
Yes, yeah, okay, yes. Yeah. What's that in? Self-deprecation.
Bashfulness,
Or self-deprecation.
самоуничижение.
Yeah, some unitarian. Yeah, okay.
So that's without repentance, isn't it? That
But самоуничижение это ближе к раболепию. It's closer to раболепие, to what we talk about.
Yes, I mean, I don't know the answer to this. I'm just reading Abigail and I'm thinking about it. And it'll take me
well,
a
if
long
you're
time.
accusing yourself and you're just you know self-deprecating, oh I can't do this and this, and of course I'm always like this. But if you have repentance with it, then it's useful. If you don't, then
Yeah, but this is coming to what he's coming to the next level. He says that when we stray from the path, we bring upon ourselves a sickness of soul. In other words, we go along the path and we go to the right, we become sick. It's a sin. And if we go to the left, we're sick. So on either side, so you've got to find this middle part, which is the true virtue. I think this is very important that we understand it, even if we can't always, deal with it. So he says that, and the sickness of soul, which is a form of evil.
What is wrong with this?
Evil.
No, but what did you say?
If we stray from the path, go to the right or to the left, we become sick in soul.
Okay.
And so the root cause is what we should be working on. The root cause of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and our misunderstanding of what we think is a virtue. Do you all agree? Yeah, I mean, yes, this is something we have to think about, pray about, and think and work on. So here's the next question: what is the state of your soul? And there are three conditions that the fathers teach. One is to give free rein to your passions. So just do what you like; it doesn't really matter. Live a life of decadence. And physically, if you lead a life of decadence, you become physically ill. Alcoholism, overeating, what's the opposite of that? Anorexia, that's a sin. It's giving into a passion.
И когда мы отходим от этого пути, наша душа болеет. Независимо от если мы и влево отклоняемся, и вправо отклоняемся, это болезнь нашей души. И, например, если следующий вопрос у аббата Дорофея: какие бывают состояния человеческой души? Состояние первое – это когда человек ни в чем себя не ограничивает и делает все, что ему хочется, все себе позволяет. То есть это приводит к таким страстям, как это приводит к физическим заболеваниям, не только к душевным. Например, это может вызывать алкоголизм, обжорство.
But when we turn to God, and when we become, aware of the spiritual life and church life, and then we still have passions, and so the second condition is is to spend our life checking them. So if you have a problem with gluttony, for example, you spend your time trying to not be gluttonous, but you haven't got rid of the passion, you're checking it. Now this is good, obviously it's good, but it's not a virtue because you refrain. say you refrain from various nice foods, but if you're suffering from gluttony as a passion, refraining from those foods is not a virtue. But it's a good thing to do, you're checking your passion.
Следующее состояние, когда человек осознает свои страсти, свои грехи и все время себя контролирует, проверяет и останавливает себя, когда он впадает в такой грех. Это еще не добродетель, но это хорошо, это уже состояние лучшее.
And that can apply to any passion, whatever it may be. Passion for power, ambition. One can check it and see oneself doing it and say, well, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to push myself forward in this instance. But you still have the passion. So the important thing is to understand that the passion should be uprooted. But the first stage is to be able to try and check it. And the three conditions. The first is just giving in to your passions, not even being aware of them, which is a terrible state for people. 2, checking them. And the third condition is actually uprooting them. That's a lifetime struggle.
So, во втором состоянии человек все равно, у него еще есть эти страсти, он от них не избавился. Но он просто с ними борется, как бы он их проверяет и старается не поддаваться им. А третье состояние, когда человек избавляется от страстей.
And so we can check our passions. When I say check them, I don't mean them. We can recognize our passions. For example, with anger, for example. If somebody offends us, what do we do? How do we reply? Somebody says something to us, maybe very rude. How do we respond? Well, one way we can respond is by directly, arguing and shouting at them or whatever it is. And this applies to all of us, by the way. This is everyday life, whatever level it may be. But and the worst level is that you respond, and then later on you have days after days thinking about it and thinking, how many ever thought, well, I should have said that at the time. I missed saying the right thing. Yeah. I think we're all guilty of that.
You mean you mean we were not?
Well, I give a simple example. You're going into a shopping mall or something. Somebody gets in your way or knocks you out the way or pushes you out the way, and you argue with them, and later on you think, I should have said something much better than that, more effective, yes. How much we regret that, not really, this is part of the passion of anger.
Например, в первом случае, если у нас есть грех гневливости, мы все бывали в такой ситуации, когда, например, мы попадаем в такую ситуацию, когда нас кто-то раздражает, мы начинаем спорить, а потом мы очень долго начинаем жалеть, что мне не пришло в голову, что надо было еще это сказать, и так ответить. Не отдавая себе отчета в том, что на самом деле это страсть, и мы находимся в тисках греха. Во втором случае, когда человека вызывают, гневливого человека попадает в ситуацию, когда он гневается, то вместо того, чтобы накричать и раздражиться, он останавливается, контролирует себя и не делает этого, хотя все равно гневается в душе.
And in another case, you are upset by somebody, you get angry with them, then a few days later you forget about it. Okay? It's gone. But that's not a virtue. It's still the passion is there. Okay? You just happen to check it, not at the time, and you probably regret. I wish I hadn't, exploded. Wish I hadn't got angry with that person in the checkout, or that stupid person in the store, whatever. This is everyday life. But if we understand that we have the passion of anger, that's what we have to work on, not the situations. That they will take care of themselves.
Во втором случае, например, часто бывают ситуации, когда мы с кем-то поспорили, а потом мы начинаем жалеть о том, что мы не сдержали, что мы накричали. Мы уже перестаем сердиться на этого человека, но тем не менее сделанного не исправишь. Но важно в таких ситуациях не бороться с ситуациями, а бороться с грехом, который у нас в душе.
Abhidharma says that we should endure insult with thankfulness. Thanks very much for insulting me.
А Ава Дорофей говорит, что мы должны переносить оскорбления с радостью. Благодарность.
Благодарность. Yeah, I mean, being thankful. That's only if we understand that we have a passion of anger and that's what we're working on, not what somebody's saying to us. Yeah, not the trigger. That's how I understand it. Because when we first read that, they have you to be thankful for somebody being rude to you. Only if you're working on the passion of anger. And he says that but we have to do it with knowledge. Okay, and this is the next level, it's even higher. He says, we're thankful because we deserve it. Okay, it lost me there. Because we deserve it. Can we feel that?
И Ава Дорофей говорит, мы должны быть благодарны за такие случаи, потому что мы заслуживаем их.
And Abhidharma said, there's a famous thing from Abhidharma said, which I've probably quoted to you in confession from time to time. If you say, Lord, give me humility, do you know what you're asking for?
И еще его цитата, которую батюшка часто говорит во время исповеди, это то, что когда мы говорим, Господи, дай мне смирение, понимаем ли мы, о чем мы просим?
Send somebody to annoy me, обидчика.
Это означает, что, Господи, пошли мне обидчика, человека, который меня будет обижать.
And that's how we acquire humility.
И только так можно приобрести смирение.
You won't find that anywhere. In the secular world as advice in psychology. And how could you tell people that? You can't, because it has to be a part of one's spiritual life. You have to start from the beginning and, that's your problem. So we need to, Abhidharma says that we need to examine where we are, daily, weekly, monthly, and see how we're doing on walking the central path. Do we have modesty? Do we have humility? Very doubtful. Modesty, maybe we can put a handle on that. Maybe we can control that. And as we go along the path, we collect these virtues, and this is how the saints lived, and how we're meant to live.
И Ава Дорофей говорит, что мы должны ежедневно, еженедельно, ежемесячно, ежегодно проверять себя, в каком состоянии наша душа находится, где мы на этом пути в Царствие Небесное. Это так, как живут святые.